Hey guys, it's Destiny and welcome back to my channel. Obviously, you are here because you want to make a chat app for yourself and friends to connect easily. So that's exactly what we'll be doing in this video. If you want to see more videos like this, so make sure to drop a like on this video and consider subscribing as it will mean the world to me. So let's get started. Okay guys, before we go ahead and start working on this project, I want to show you guys what the final product of this application is gonna look like. So this is pretty much all we have over here, and this is opened up on a new Windows, and this one also over here is opened up on a new Windows, like an incognito window or something like that. So that's where I opened up this one. Now you could go ahead and enter a room name. So this was designed in a way that there is no login. All you have to do is enter in a room name, and let's say the room name is something like Coders, something like that. And let's say I want to enter this room as Destiny, so this user over here is Destiny. Now when you click on start chat, so what do you notice? As you see, it has the name over here, the name of the room, which is Coders, and this is the name of the logged in user, Destiny. Now let's say someone else from another part of the world or with another device wants to get into the same room. All you have to do is make sure that you're entering exactly the same name of the room, Coders, and you are entering with another username. Let's say you want to enter with Tim, so now you click on start chat, and as you can see, you both are in the same room, Coders, but as different users, and this would automatically detect different logged in users. So let's say Destiny want to send something like hi and clicks on send. Now what do you notice? It comes in for Tim and it's also here for Destiny, so it automatically gets posted in here and it automatically comes in here too. So if Tim go ahead and say what's up and click on send, now as you can see, it automatically gets into this place in a real time, and there is the date, time and seconds and all that it was sent. So you could go ahead and create more rooms. For example, let's say a user wants to enter this same room of Coders, and let's say he mistakenly added a double S and clicks on start chat. Now what do you notice? He's in a totally different room, and when he says hi over here, it doesn't get shown over here. And let's say he says something like hey Prince or something and clicks on send, it doesn't get shown over here because he's in a totally different group. Now you can also go ahead and log into that group, and when you click on start chat, now you can see all the messages that was sent in that group. And with all this, if you come over to the back end, so this is our database. So if you come over to the database and refresh this and come over to messages, and as you can see, now let me go over ahead and expand this, and as you can see, we have your message object. It says hey Prince, and a lot of messages have been stored here and nothing is getting deleted and all that. So it's all the messages that are sent from different groups across groups, they are all stored in here. And if you come over to rooms, you can see the rooms that we have. So we have this room Coders with a double S, and we also have this room Coders with the single S. So that's pretty much it, and hopefully you're gonna find it fun building this in this course. All the link to the templates, the codes that we use will be in the description below in my GitHub account, so make sure you get it now. So let's go ahead and get started. Firstly, in order to start making the chat app, what you want to do is go over to your command prompt if you're on a Windows, but if you're on a Mac, you want to open up your terminal, and we want to do some basic operations over there, like installing of a virtual environment, installing of Django and all that. So let's go ahead and open up our command prompts. If you're on a Windows, just type out CMD and it opens up the command prompt. If you're in a Mac, you should open up your terminal. So in here, I want to make a new directory, and this is going to be where we're going to install our project. So I'll say make directory, which is mkdir, and we could just name this chat app. So we want to cd into chat app, just like that. And in this chat app, we want to make a virtual environment, so we're going to name that venv. So if you want to do that on Windows, it's easy. You just say py-m venv, then followed by the name you want your virtual environment to be. You could say chat virtual environment, like that. So chat venv, and you hit enter. So instead of the chat env, you could give yours whatever name you want, but I prefer the chat env, so I can know that that's the chat virtual environment. So all you have to do is give this a couple of seconds and it should load up successfully. So let's just give it a couple of seconds. Okay, and as you can see, it successfully installed the virtual environment. Now I want to go ahead and activate it, and it's easy. All you have to say is call the name of the virtual environment, which is chat-venv in my case, followed by a backslash scripts, then backslash activate.bat. So activate.bat. When you hit enter, as you can see, it now activates the virtual environment over here. So in this virtual environment, the next thing I want to do is go ahead and install Django, and make sure when you're installing Django that you want to have an active internet connection. So I'll just go ahead and connect to my internet. Okay, and in here what you want to do is say pip install Django. So we just say pip install Django, and let's give this some moments. It should successfully install Django. Okay guys, and as you can see, it's successfully installed Django. Now let's go ahead and start working with some other things that we want to do in this course. So firstly, I want to make a Django project, and the way you want to do that is say Django-admin start project. But before that, I want to say if Django successfully installed. So I'll just say pip freeze, and as you can see, obviously it's successfully installed from here, but you want to go ahead and just cross-check this for some reasons, and just hit enter when you don't type in pip freeze, and it should list out some of the packages that were installed. As you can see, Django is one of it. So down here I want to make a Django project. So I want to say Django-admin start project, and you're gonna name this project whatever you want. In my case, I could just name this chat app prj, just like that, chat app prj. So chat app project, that's just what I'm gonna name it, and you just hit enter. So want to go into that project that we made. So you just cd into it, you say cd into chat app prj, and you are in there now. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and create an app quickly. So we just say python manage.py start app, and we're gonna name the app whatever we want. In my case, I'm gonna name it chat. Okay guys, so you want to go ahead and open up the project folder that we made on a code editor or on an IDE. So I'll be opening up mine on PyCharm IDE. I think it's the best for me now. So I want to just go ahead and click on open, and I'll go and locate where I made it, and this is where it is. This is it over here. So you just click on OK, and it should just load up everything for me. Okay, and as you can see, everything successfully loaded up. Now I want to go ahead and close this, and let's open all this up. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is go ahead and route our URLs. But before we do that, I want to go and run our development server and make sure that everything is running totally fine. So you want to come over here and open up terminal, and down here you want to activate the virtual environment again, and that's easy. You could just say chat-venv, chat-venv backslash scripts backslash activate .bat. Then you hit enter, and what did you notice? It says the system cannot find the specified part, and that's because we missed a spelling over here. It's supposed to be chat and not cha. So when you hit enter, as you can see, it's activated it now. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and cd into my chat app project, and the next thing I want to do is go ahead and run my development server. So I would say python manage.py run server. So python manage.py run server, and I think everything should be working fine. So as you can see, everything is working totally fine over here. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and start doing is configuring some URLs. So if you want to do that, just go ahead and open up the chat app, and you want to open up the project app over here. So in the project app URLs, I want to import include over here. So just add a comma and import include, just like that. And I want to configure a Python interpreter. So it says no Python interpreter configured for the project. Just click on this, and I think it should all work now. So let's just give it seconds, and everything is now working. So what you want to do is say parts, and you say parts, you open up parentheses, and in here what you want to say is include, and you want to include chat.urls. So in the chat.urls, we'll be making a new URL file, so that's why I want to include it here. And if you're watching this tutorial, I'll highly recommend you have a basic knowledge about Django before you start watching this tutorial. But even if you don't, it's totally cool. Don't freak out. We'll still carry you along with whatever we are doing here and explain everything from scratch. So all you have to do is now go into the chat app, and you want to create a new directory, and we're going to name this URL. So right click and come over to new, then come over to directory, and let's sorry, you have to right click and come over to new, then Python file, and we're gonna name this URLs. So in here I want to say from Django.urls, I want to import path. So I import path, and I also want to say from dot import views. So this is the views that we'll be defining over here in the views.py file. So I just want to import it ahead of time. Now the next thing I want to say is URL pattern. So I want to say URL patterns is equal to a path, and this path over here is going to have an empty string as the first argument, and the next one is going to be views.home. So views.home is going to be the second one, and if you want, you could go ahead and give this a name, but it's not really necessary. You can just give it the name of home, and that's pretty much all we need to do over here. Now let's come over to our views.py and make a very basic function for home. So you say define home, and this home is going to take in request as an argument, as a parameter, and down here we're going to return a very simple HTML template. So we say return render, it takes in request, it takes in what we want the name of the template to be, and it can take in a context, but for now we are not working with context. So this is pretty much all we need to do. Now the next thing we want to do is open up our settings.py, and we want to import and we want to install our chat over here. So we come over here and we install the new chat app that we made over here, and you could just add a comma. So you open up your terminal and everything is working fine, but when we run this we will get an error that should say template does not exist. But let's go ahead and run it. So what do you notice? It says template does not exist at /home.html, and that's because in our settings.py we haven't configured the templates folder. So we're going to say import OS at the top of our file. So we want to look for the template for the section that says template, and in here it's as easy as saying os.path.join, and I want to join the base directory with the template folder that I'm going to create now. So this is pretty much all I need here, just this line of code, very easy. Now in our root directory I want to create a new folder and name it template. So how do you know where your new root directory is? Your root directory is wherever your manage.py is stored. So this is my manage.py, that means this one over here is my root directory. So you want to right click over here, come over to new, come over to directory, and we're going to name this templates. Just like that, you hit enter and everything should be working fine. Now I already have a template that I designed for this course. You don't have to do that from scratch. I already have everything fully designed and working. All I have to do is go ahead, copy it and paste it in here. So let me just go over to my desktop and I'm going to copy it from here. This is the folder, and I'll just copy it. So you could get this template from the link in description below and my GitHub. So I copy this, I come over here and I paste it in here just like this, and click OK, and as you can see the two templates are in here. So if I just come over here again and refresh, what do you notice? We have this really nice looking chat app interface. I don't know if it's really nice looking, but to me it is. Maybe it's not to you. You could go ahead and tweak it if you want. So we're going to make this fully functional. Now if you get a room name, let's say we want the room name to be programmers 2021, something like that, and let's say your username is Destiny, or let's say your username is Tom, and you start chat now it says page not found, and that's because we haven't defined a check view yet. So let's go ahead and start working with some things that we want to do here. But before that, if you come over to the second template here which says room, nothing is going to happen. So if you come over to room, as you can see it says page not found, and that's because we haven't also defined a URL for it. Now let's go ahead and start working with all this right away. Okay, the first thing we want to do is go ahead and create two models. So we'll be creating two models for this course. One is going to be for the chat room and the other is going to be for the messages. So you want to go ahead and open up your chat app and you want to open up models.py. So in here, the very first thing I want to say is define a class, and this class is going to be for the room. So we just name this room. You can name it whatever you want, but I think the room name is like a normal thing that you should use. So it's going to inherit from models.model, and that's going to be a parameter. So the next thing I want to do is just define a variable, and we're going to call this name. So I would say name is equal to models.charfield. So if you've worked with Django before, you should know what charfield are and all that. Now I want to also define a max length, so we could just give this like 1,000 figure like that, and I want to go ahead and define another variable. So this one is going to be named message. You can name it whatever you want to, not bad, but I want to name my message, and the parameters are going to be models.model, so it's inheriting from that. Now I want to give this a value, so this value is going to be like the message that the user is actually sending. So I would say value should be models.childfield, and this is gonna have a max length of, let's say, like 1,000,000 keywords or whatever you want to put in there, but let's just give it a very really long word. Now the next thing I want to set is a date, that like the date that the user is going to use to send the message, or the date that the user sends the message. But before we do that, we want to import a field. So we're going to say from datetime import datetime, just like that. There's no biggie about it. Now down here I want to say date should be equal to models.date time field, just like that. So date time fields. Now I want to add a default. So default is going to be equal to date time dot now, just like that, and make sure there is no parentheses over there. So date time dot now, and finally we want to make sure that blank is true. So you give a comma and you say blank should be true, just like that. Now the next thing I want to define is like a room. So this room is going to be like, where is the room that the message is coming from? Take note of that. This room is going to be the room the message is coming from, and that's going to be set to models.childfield, and we could give this a max length of whatever you want. In my case, I'll be giving it, let's say, 1,000,000 figure over there. Is that up to 1,000,000? Okay, let's just stick with that one. Then finally I want to define a user. So this user is going to be the user that sends the message. So models.childfield, and in here we could just define a max underscore length, and this is gonna have like, let's say, like 1,000,000 too, something like that. Now there is a method in Django that's called the foreign key method. You could use that if you want, but in this tutorial we are not using any of that. We're just gonna stick with the like a very low end poly stuff in this tutorial. So let's go ahead and start working with some things. Now the next thing I want to do is save this in our admin.py. So your admin.py, you want to import, so I'll say from models import, I want to import room, and also want to import message. So import room and import message. Now I'm going to say admin.site.register. So what I'm trying to do now is to register the models that I defined in the models.py, and if I don't register this, it wouldn't show up on our database. Let me go ahead and get rid of this and show you what I exactly mean. So open up your terminal, and you want to open up a new terminal over here. So we see the into Django, so we see the into chat app prj, which is the project, and I want to create a super user. So right now, if you come over to this /admin and you want to log in, so you come over /admin. Firstly, it says no such table Django underscore section, and that's because we haven't migrated. So we have to say python manage.py, and we're gonna make migrations, and give this a couple of seconds. It should make create model message and create model room, and finally we want to say python manage.py migrates, just like that. And let's give it a second. It should migrate every single thing to our database, and after that, when we go over to our database and refresh, we should now get a new thing that's gonna show us a login page like this, so you can log in with the username and the password. But right now, if you click on login, what happens? It says please enter the correct username and password for a staff account. Note both fields may be case sensitive, whatever, but how do we get the username and password for this? So in that case, we need to create a super user. So we have to say python manage.py create super user, just like that. And when you hit enter, now it gives you a blank space to type in, or like an input to type in your username. So I'm going to leave my username as Destiny, and email address you could leave it as desphixs@whatever.com, or you can say desphixs@123.com. And password, I want to leave the password as testing321. Okay, I think I just told you my password testing321, and it says super user created successfully. So when you come over here again and refresh now and click on login, as you can see, it successfully logs in here, but there's an error. Now we created two models, but we can find them in here. We can only find group and users. Why? That's because we haven't registered it in our admin. So when we come over here and say admin.site.register, and let's say we want to register room, so we register room, we come over here, we refresh. Now what do you notice? Room is now here, like the room model appears over here, and in the room model you can see there are 0 rooms. You can go ahead and add a room name and all that. But how about the message model? Still we have to go ahead and register the message model. So when you come over here now and refresh, you see that we now have two models. There's a message model which helps you add the message, you get all this field, and there's also a room model which helps you add a room name or something like that. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and create a feature so that when the user enters a room name and username, it makes a unique URL for that particular room. Right now the HTML isn't working, but let's go ahead and start working with that. But before that, I want to close off some things here, like the models, the home.html, the settings.py, the URLs. We can still stick with that. So I just want to close off all this and stick with us too. So what I want to do is in the urls.py, wait, let me tell you something. But firstly, we want to check if the room that the user is trying to create already exists. So if the room that the user is trying to create already exists, all we have to do is just go into the room. But let's say the user is trying to create a room that doesn't exist yet. That's what the user is trying to create. Now all we have to do is go ahead and create it, because that room doesn't exist. So it's a very simple logic that we are going to implement here. Firstly, if the room exists, we just go into the room. Secondly, if the room doesn't exist and the user is trying to create it, we create the room. Simple. Now we want to add the URL that should help a user like navigate to a particular room when they enter a room name and username. So in order to do that, I just duplicated this over here, and make sure you're adding a comma at the back. Now over here, what I want to say is define a str in like that. So this is going to be like a dynamic URL. So just follow along with what I'm doing. This is going to be a string, and the string is going to have a room in it, just like that. Then we can add a / out here. So take note, this is a dynamic URL. It's not like a regular URL. So what this URL is going to do now is that whatever URL or whatever room name a user enters, or let's say whatever URL a user goes to, is going to be seen as a room. So that's exactly what this does. So I'll go ahead and show you what this is, but before that, we want to create a views.room, and we're going to name this room. As easy as that. There's no bigger with it. Now in our views.py, you want to create the basic function for room. So you could copy this if you want, or you could hard code it. So room, change this to room. Then I want to pass in room.html, just like that. And you want to make sure that in your templates, go ahead and open your template. There's the home.html. You want to make sure that over here, let's just scroll down. Do not mind all those big long stuffs. Sorry, in the room.html, let's see, room.html, you want to come down, let's say to, okay, I think it's in the home.html, not the room. So this is it over here in this form. What we did over here was pass a form variable. So if you want, we could go ahead and get rid of this and retype it. It's very easy. So what I did was define a form tag, and this form tag have an ID of post form. So this is what I use for basically for the styling. Now it has a method of post. I think I talked about post in a lot of my Django videos. You should know about it by now. And it's gonna have an action of check view. So whatever we are doing with our view is gonna come in here. So that's why we define the check view. You can go ahead and name this whatever you want, but I think check view is like the right word that we should use for it. So I defined a form tag, added a method over here which is post, added an action. Then I added a Django like security check, something like that. It's called CSRF token. So I just opened up a double curly brackets just like this. So I opened up the double curly bracket like this, and in it I defined 2% signs, and I said CSRF_token. So that's what I did, but everything is already done for you in this template. You can just go ahead and copy the template and everything is already done. But we're going to work with our views, URLs and all that. But in here the template is already highly configured. Make sure that there is form, there is method equal to post, there is action equals to check view, and there is this. If there's not this, it's going to throw like a forbidden error, something like that. And finally, make sure you're closing off your form over here. So in our room.html, we do not have any form tag. Okay, I think we have one form tag. Yeah, we have one form tag. I just forget that for a second. We have one form tag, and this is not using any method because we're going to use Ajax to make this real time in our video. So come over to home again and come over to urls.py. So in the urls.py, I want to create a new URL that's going to help us check for a room and username. No, it's gonna help us check for a room, like if a room exists and all that. So you just want to say part, and this is gonna have check view view, and make sure that it doesn't have any slash. So make sure that it's no slash, just check view like that. And finally it's gonna have views dot check view, just like that, views dot check view. And you could give it a name if you want. I don't think the names here are like really important. Just give this check view, whatever, check view, and like that. So if we go ahead and run this now, let's open up our terminal and see if we get an error. And as you can see, it says invalid syntax. Why? Because we are missing a comma over here. So add a comma and everything is going to work fine now, except from the fact it says module chats.views has no attribute check view, and that's because we haven't created any view for it. So back to our urls.py, we want to go ahead and create a view, like a check view, something like that. So we're going to say define check view, and it's going to take in a request as a parameter. Then for now, let's go ahead and pass. So in check view, before we continue, we want to check if the room exists, just as I told you earlier. But now we want to check if the room exists in the database. So if it exists, we just go into it. If it doesn't, we create a new room. So what I want to say is from .models, I want to import my models over here. So I'm going to say from .models, you can say from models dot whatever, but I want to say from .models import room, and also want to import message. So we're going to be using this message later in this video. Now in here, what I want to say is room is equal to request.post, and I'm going to talk to you guys about what this is going to do. Request.post, and let's say I want to get room name, yeah, whatever, I'm just going to get room name. Okay, I think it's room dash name, something like that. Now what this is going to do is whatever the user inputs as the room name, we want to get it, provided our method is post. It's very easy. I want to say request.post room name. So whatever the user inputs as room name, we want to get it. Now let's come over to our HTML and make sure that's exactly what we are doing. So this is over here is room underscore name. Let's copy this and make sure that you are using the exact name that was used in your template. So we're just going to paste this in here. It's room underscore name, not room hyphen name. Now the next one I want to check is the username. So we want to collect the username too, like the user imputed. It's going to be username is equal to request, sorry for that. So it's going to be username is equal to request.post again, and we want to collect username, but go ahead and cross check if that's what we used over there, and let's see. So as you can see, this is what we used. You can copy it, come over here and paste it. Make sure that everything is totally in order, just like that. Now the next thing I want to see is check if room exists. So you remember I told you guys that if the room exists, we just go into the room. If the room doesn't exist, we create the room. So it's very easy to check that. All you have to say is if room dot objects like that dot filter, and you're going to open up a parenthesis and want to say the name is equal to room. So the name is equal to room. So you want to filter for whatever room name that was passed in and check if it exists, just like this. So I used, take a close look at what I used if room.object.filter the name of this room. So let's say the name of the room was Codas. So check for Codas room and check if it exists. So it's very easy. If Codas room exists, for example, let's say this name over here is Codas room, something like that. Let's say that's just the name of the room. For this is just like an example. So it's gonna say if Codas room exists. Very easy. So it's trying to filter from all the rooms that we have. It's trying to filter Coda room from it. But for now, we want to stick with name is equal to room. So that's what we're gonna be using. So if the room name exists, whatever room name that was passed in exists, what do we want to do? We want to return that same room. So it's very easy. We want to return that same room. So in this case, I think we should use redirects. Yeah, we should use redirects. But before we do that, we want to import it over here, redirect. So we're just going to redirect to the room that already exists. So it's easy. We say return redirect, and in here I want to say slash, just like this. So we say slash and we come over here and say plus the room plus, just follow along with what I'm doing, plus, and I'll open up a string, passing a slash like that, passing a question mark, and I want to pass in the username. So this is going to query the username, and it's going to be set equal to, just take note of what I'm doing, it's going to be set equal to, then concatenate plus the username. So let me explain what this does. So I said if the room exists. Hopefully you understood what I did here. So let me just put let's say a comment. If the room name that was passed, that was imputed exists. So that's what this line of code is doing, exists. Now what is this one doing? So we want to redirect to the room. So this trying to make things more clearer for you. So if the room name exists, we want to redirect to the room. Very easy. Return redirect slash whatever the room was plus the name of the room. Then there's going to be the username that the user imputed plus the name of the username. But I think there is a problem over here. We want to join all of these together. None should be separated, just like that. Join all this, and everything should be working really fine now. So else want to do something. So if it doesn't, remember what I told you want to do. Want to go ahead and create a new room. Very easy. So we're going to say new room is equal to room.objects dot create. Very easy. So we say create and want to create the name that the user passed in as the room, just like that. So we want to create the name. Now the next thing I want to say is new room dot save. So I want to save the name of the room that the user created. So it's very easy. The new room dot save, you're just gonna save it to the database. There is no biggie about this. Then finally I want to return them to that room that was created. So we're just gonna copy this and we paste it down there, and everything should be working really fine, apart from the fact that we need to make sure that all this are like joined together. If not, I think we're gonna have a problem, something like that. So everything is joined together now. Let's go ahead and start working. Let's test things out. So what we want to do is save this and see if this is working, and it's totally working fine. So we want to open this up. So let's say I want to enter a room name of coders or whatever. Let's say I want to enter a room name of programmers. Let's say programmers, and my username is Destiny, and I want to start chat now. What do you notice? It says room, there's got an unexpected keyword argument room. So let's go ahead and fix this. So it says at programmers, and we got this error. So we are getting this error that says room, there's got an unexpected keyword argument room, and that's because in here we are still supposed to pass in room as an argument, just like that. And let's see if everything is gonna work fine now. So we still get an error. It says this. Let's see, I think we should pass it in somewhere else. We should pass it in the home. Let's see, and let's pass it in here again, and we want to refresh this and see if everything works fine. So as you can see, everything is working fine now. And what do you notice? It created that room for us. So it's created the room and it says programmers blah blah blah. So let's go over to our database and see if everything is working now fine. So we say this /admin, and now we have rooms. We open up rooms. What do you notice? We have a new room object and it's created programmers. Hooray! So we created our first room successfully. Now let's go ahead and create another room and see if everything is actually really working fine. So we refresh this and it says home is missing one positional argument room. And why is that? So let's get rid of this over here and let's see. Everything is working fine now. So I want to enter a new room name, let's say coders, and I want to enter Destiny, and I click on start chat now. So it says check view missing one required positional argument room. Let's go ahead and see. Check view has room, but why is it missing it? Okay guys, I want to get rid of this room that's in the check view, and I want to make sure that there's room over here. So we come over here and let's get back to our home.html, and everything is working fine. I added coders and I added Destiny, and I clicked on start chat now. So what do you notice? It's created the same room for us and everything is working totally fine. Now let's go ahead and refresh our admin and see what's gonna happen. So we come over to our admin and we refresh, and what do you notice? We now have two rooms. So it has coders that we created over here. So that's pretty much fine, and I think that's really amazing. Now we want to go ahead and make sure that any message that the user sends are stored in the database. And how do we do that? It's easy. We come over to our rooms.html. So this is it over here, rooms.html, and we didn't use any method here as I told you earlier, and that's because I told you that we're going to be using Ajax to make this function of the functional part of this chat app real time. So we will make sure that everything here is real time, and we don't have this page to like refresh. We don't want this page to refresh whenever we click on send button. So that's why we're going to be using Ajax. So let me show you what I'm trying to say. You come over here, we refresh, and we entered coders, we still entering into the same room. And now let's say I want to enter as Tom, and I click on start chat. So when I say hello guys, and when I say send, I don't want the site to refresh. So if you take a close look, you see that it gets refreshed over here, and that's because we are going to use Ajax to make it not refresh. Right now it's refreshing. Let's go ahead and do that. So in our rooms.html, you want to make sure that you have a form tag over here, and this form tag is gonna have a post form, and it's not gonna have a method because we will be using Ajax to do this. I've said it a lot of times, and you want to make sure you add Django this over here, like this Django security check, and that's pretty much all we need to do. Now let's get back to our views.py and do something in the room. So in our views.py, this room over here, firstly I want to get the username that the user imputed. So I'm gonna say username is equal to request.get. So it's done like this, request.get. Just follow along with what I'm doing. .get, like a small letter get, then open up a parenthesis and pass in username. So I want to get the username that the user imputed. And finally, I want to get a room underscore detail. I want to get the details of the room that the user is choosing. So I will say room.objects.get. So I want to get like the particular room that the user is, and I'm going to say name is equal to room, just like this. So what I'm saying over here is getting the username that the user imputed, and I'm using the get method to do this. And I want to also get like the room details of this particular room name that the user is entering. It might be programmers, it might be coders, whatever. So that's what I want to do there. Now the next thing I want to do is go ahead and return render. So I return render, but I want to open up a context, and in this context it's very easy. What I'm going to say is down here I return render and I opened up a context just like this. So in here I'm going to define username. So there's going to be a key username, and this is going to be set to username just like that. There's going to be a comma, and we go ahead and duplicate this in 3 places. Now this is going to be room, and this is going to be room. Just take note of what I'm doing. I'll explain all this. And finally, this is going to be room underscore details, and this also is going to be room underscore details, just like that. And let's make sure that we are spacing things out so everything looks really nice. Now if you notice that over here nothing is showing up here, so basically what's supposed to show up here is like the room name that we are in and maybe our username, but it's not showing up here now because of some. So come over to our rooms.html and let's just look for where we have a HTML tag that says room. I think it should be at the top. Okay, and this is it over here. So this is it. Let's just get it. This is it. So this is gonna echo the name of the room, and this is gonna echo our username. So it's very easy. All I did was just call the name of the room. So if I come over here and say room, just like that, so when you come over here and refresh, now you see we get the name of the room. So I don't know if you understand what I'm doing. Okay, let's get back and get into the programmers room. So we get into programmers room and we click start chat, and as you can see it calls the name of the room. So the name of the room is programmers, and you could go ahead and do more creative things. For example, I want to call the name of the logged in user. So it's very easy. I say username, and when I refresh, you see it gets Tam. How about I was entering this room as Destiny? When I click start chat, as you can see, it's programmers and the logged in user is Destiny. So as you can see, everything is working really fine. And how did we get all this working? Let me go ahead and explain. So go back to our views.py. Now if you noticed down here, I just got the name of the username and I got the particular room that the username is going into. So that's all I did. Now I said username should be equal to the username that I got over here. I don't know if you know the way dictionaries work in Django, but if you don't know, it's totally fine. Let me just explain. So this is a key and this is a value. I definitely obviously in-depthly explained about dictionary in my 10 days of Python. I'd recommend you go ahead and check it out in the playlist in my YouTube channel. It's really awesome. Just check out dictionaries alone and you should understand everything. So this is a key and this is a value. So firstly, I got this over here. I got the username. I got hold of it. For example, let's say the username is Henry, just like that. Let's say username is Henry. So I got hold of the username and I passed in a key. So this key can be anything. It can be whatever you want. Then I just passed as username, then passed in the username which I got hold of. So in here, you could just say something like Henry, but it's username. So it's username, but right now, let's say the user passed in Henry. I got Henry. and whatever is the room name, I also got it, and whatever is the room details, I also got it. So I came over to our room.html and just echoed it. So this is how you define variable context in Django. Just use two parentheses and call whatever key that was passed in, and you should get everything working totally fine, just like this. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and make sure that whatever message the user sent is stored in the database. So let's go ahead and start doing that. But there's one more thing I want to do. In our room.html over here. Let's go ahead and get our form tag. So this is our form over here. Now I want to get the name of the particular user that sent a message. You remembered how I got the name of the logged in user over here, right? You remember I just called this double curly brackets and passed in username. So in here now, I want to get the name of the user that sent a message. So I get the name of the user over here, this username, and I want to get the room details and the particular ID of the room. So the ID of the room might be the first room or the second room or whatever. So I just passed in it as a this, and I said room underscore detail dot ID. I know you might not understand how all this works, but when you keep working with Django and all this, you should definitely understand all this to the fullest. So just follow along with what I'm doing over here. Now, to make this real time, I got a JavaScript code. This is JavaScript code over here. Everything is already made for you. You don't have to stress yourself to do anything. So this is the JavaScript code. Just cut it, and let me go ahead and explain what this does. So I says on document submit. So when the submit button is clicked, what do I want to do? And the submit button is stored in post form. That's where the name is stored. It's stored in post form. So what do I want to do? I went ahead and defined the function, and the name of this function is just e. So I said e.prevent default. So what .prevent default is going to do is when you come over here and you say hello and you click on send, now the site doesn't refresh. Take note, nothing is posting over here now, like no message is coming through, and this is just like a dummy text. I'm like, that's just a dummy text, I'm gonna get rid of this. So when you say hi over here or hello, nothing is getting refreshed. So that's what this dot prevents blah 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 this does. And the type that I use is post. So if you take a close look, I didn't use method as post in my method. So this is where I use that type equals to post, and the URL is send. So when we actually start making this to work, we're going to create a new URL that's going to be sent, so that when you click on the send over here, now it gets displayed over here. So it's very easy. Then I passed in the same the username, I passed it in over here, and I passed in the room ID and all this. And this is like a security check for Ajax. If you remember, for Django it's CSRF token, so that's for Ajax. Then I define the success function, and take note, I commented this out. We could go ahead and leave it out like this now, but for now we are not here working with anything serious. Let's go ahead and start making our messages that the user sent over here get stored in the database. So let's go ahead and do that. Now in our urls.py, so let's open up our urls.py, and below here I want to say some, but before I say that, I want to put a comma over there. So I want to say part, and this part is going to be sent to send. So if you remember, the URL that I used in the room.html over here is send. There is it over here, send. So in the views.py, in the URLs, I'm going to say define like an open string, and I'll put in there send in there, and there's going to be a /. Take note, there is not going to be a /. Cancel this, there is not going to be a /. And finally I want to say views.send. So this is going to be used to handle all the messages that would be sent. And finally I want to say name is equal to send. You could use that if you want, I don't know, it's not necessarily important. So let's come over to our views.py. So in our views.py, I want to define a new function, and this is going to be called send. So it's going to inherit a parameter that's a request. Very easy, no biggie. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and do is get the message that the user imputed. So now some real work are coming in here. So I want to get the message that the user imputed, and this is going to be gotten as message is equal to request.post. Take note, we are getting it, and it was stored in message. So how do you know that it was stored in message? Come over to room.html, come over to the form, and as you can see, let me show you, where is it? This is it over here. So in this Ajax, as you can see, it's stored in message. So that's what I'm getting over here. So I get this, and I also want to get the username. So I get the username, that's the username of the person that's sending the message. So that's what I'm getting. So I say request dot posts. So take a close look at what I'm doing. Post, and it's stored as username. Everything is really easy now. And finally, I say room underscore ID. So I want to get the particular room ID that the user is sending the message from. So I say request, the change is correct. So I say request dot post, just like this, and this is gonna be room ID, just like room ID. You want to cross check this, you can come over here and check out all this. So room ID, username, and message. So everything looks totally the same. Now the next thing I want to do is go ahead and define a new variable. So this is gonna store the new message. So this is gonna be new message, should be equal to message. So I told you guys that we are not going to be using this now, but right now we want to go ahead and start using it. So this is going to be set to message dot objects dot create, just like that. And I want to open up a parenthesis. So in here we're going to do some really tactical things. So just follow along. Now I want to pass in value. So follow along with what I'm doing. I passed in value to be username. Just follow along, but I'm not just going to pass in value as username just like that. I'm going to say value is equal to message, like that. Then there's going to be a comma, then user. You can pass in user just like this. User is going to be equal to username, and room is going to be equal to room underscore ID, just like this. Now I want to go ahead and save the message. So I'll say new message dot save. Very easy. Now there is a new message. Let me go ahead and get rid of this. So the value is going to be the message, the user is going to be the username, then the room is going to be room underscore ID. Then I saved the message. Now I want to return a HTTP response, and this is going to be this is just going to show us on our browser that the message was sent successfully before we go ahead and start making some things work really nice. So before we do that, I want to import HTTP response over here. So we're going to say HTTP response, just like that, and I want to return a very simple HTTP response, and this is gonna say hello, message sent successfully, or you could just say hi, message sent successfully, whatever you want to name it. Message sent successfully, and let's add an exclamation mark over there. Okay guys, after all this, the next thing we want to do is go ahead and run our development server and see what we have. And I want to be sure that you have configured your URL over here, the send URL. And with all this, I think we are done. Let's go ahead and open up our terminal. And for now, I don't know if we should get rid of this or comment it out, because for some reasons it wouldn't work now. Okay, let's just go ahead and comment it out. And we want to open up our terminal and make sure that our development server is running. So when we come over here, we want to also go into our admin folder. This is it, our admin page, and we want to check the room. So as you can see, we have no room, and the messages, as you can see, we have 0 messages. But if we come over here now and we say, let's say we want to go into a room called coders, and let's say we want to go in as Destiny and click on start chat now, as you can see, it's created the group, and this is it, coders, and this is the logged in user Destiny. So if I say something like hello, what's up, or something like that, so let's just say hello, what's up, and I click on send. So it feels like nothing happens, but something actually happened. Now let's come over to our database and refresh over here again, and what do you notice? Now we have a new message, and this says hello, what's up. So right now our messages are getting stored in the database, but they are not yet getting printed out here. So everything's looking really nice, and that should be it for this video. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one, and you do not want to miss the next one, because that's where we'd actually be printing out the messages on the front end. So that's pretty much it for this video, and hopefully you enjoyed this one. And in the last part, we'll go ahead and cover up everything that we haven't done here. So see you there.